In Frostpunk, you have an option to increase the generator's power level temporarily, despite it not using any additional fuel to do so. But how can this work? Well, for one thing, the generator is more than just a giant boiler. It is a beating heart, a steam engine which likely includes a significant geothermal heat pump hidden beneath the surface, but that is a whole different rabbit hole. Power from a steam engine comes from the steam's pressure. There are two ways to increase a gas's pressure. One, to increase the amount of gas molecules in the same space, such as in the case of a compressor, and two, increase the gas's temperature, such as in the case of a boiler. A neat thing about pressure is that it changes the boiling points of liquids. So at high pressures, water boils at a higher temperature, and at lower pressures, it could even boil at room temperature. A typical steam engine would operate around 200 to 300 psi. At that pressure, water doesn't even boil until it's about 300 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. In standard operation, an engineer would just heat the boiler until it reached the desired pressure. But heating up more water also requires more energy and fuel to boil the water, which wasn't always an option. Coal can burn as hot as 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit with an ignition temperature of 900 degrees Fahrenheit, a far cry hotter than the boiling point of water. But that doesn't mean that most of the water will ever even reach that temperature. For example, it might only take a minute or so to heat up a cup of water in a kettle, but trying to boil a full pot of water can take several minutes before it even starts to boil, and a boiler inside of a tank engine would contain thousands of gallons of water. Steam engine crews knew this, so they would often run with less water in their engine so that the water could heat up more easily, thus producing more steam despite burning the same amount of fuel. However, this was a risky practice, as a smaller amount of water could also rapidly change temperature, and higher pressures also meant more strain on the engine and a higher risk of catastrophic failure. Another issue with overheating the boiler like this is that it also causes thermal strain on the machinery due to thermal expansion and rapid contraction as the metal cools off. Since many steam engines operated on boats or trains, this also meant that the water in the tank could slosh around and create hot spots. So in this case, some of the heat pipes aren't exposed to the water, so those pipes start to heat up a lot hotter than the water. But when the water splashes onto that hot pipe, the water instantly flashes to steam, causing a pressure surge. However, Frostpunk's generator is stationary, so this really shouldn't be a problem, but we still see that the pressure gauge surges irregularly when the overdrive is on. Perhaps there is an issue with the feed water, like melting snow and it rapidly boils away, or a buildup of sediments on the pipes inside of the boiler. In any case, this is a very good visual feedback system for generator stress, even without viewing its in-game menu. I like it. So to break it down Barney style, the overdrive in-game likely reduces the flow of water into the boiler to allow the water to heat up more, with the same heat causing the boiler's pressure to rise above its design specs, thus giving more power despite using the same amount of fuel. While upgrading the generator still has the same effect, it also requires more fuel and physically upgrading the generator. We can see that the generator is still operating within the design specs, as the only time we ever see the pressure release valve on it go off is when the generator has been running for a while.